Here we are. Like, subscribe, leave a little nice comment. We are closing in on 100 episodes.
Emphasis on the nice.
Yeah, nice.
If you listen to the last episode, that's all we talk about.
Doesn't cost you anything.
Nice.
Just click a button. That's all you got to do. Helps us out. We're almost at 100 episodes, which is kind of basically 2 years. So 104 episodes would technically be 2 years.
I wonder if anyone started watching when we were doing it in Texas and then are continuing to watch.
Yeah,
like the originals. It's like the people that know an artist before they pop. Not that we popped or were even close to it, but when it was a different name.
Yeah, you got to get in on the ground floor now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to be a loser bandwagon hopper.
I like looking at those videos of the podcast that we watch now, what they started with.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh my gosh, like I remember watching it when it was like this. And it is cool,
and you didn't think
evolution.
it was like bad quality or bad video or anything. It's just how things that progress. It's like you just get used to what it is and then it gets nicer and you're like, oh, cool. And then you go back and watch the old one and you're like, oh, now that I've seen how nice everything looks and sounds now, it's crazy how it used to
it's a
look
full
and sound.
Studio. Like Theo's, there was an old one of Theo and Crystalia, and they were just in a white, like it looks like a white closet with a desk, like a table that they were sitting at.
Yeah.
It's like, and now Theo's is a full shebang.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have two, you could say they're motivational videos, but I've been, so with part of a work thing, a new thing that was asked of me was to somewhat like set the tone for our auditions and get the kids in a good headspace and all of that.
Should have asked me to do it.
So I was like, you know what? I'm going to do some research on what has worked for people, or like what is something that I could utilize that's not just what they've always been hearing. So I've been looking at a lot of like football coaches and their speeches before, because I'm like, this is so not how I think or what I think about. And like the dance world, this is not what it is. It's just like, and maybe because it seems silly to do that for dance.
Well, and you have very different styles of coaches too. Like there's some that are like their whole thing is motivational speaking.
Yes.
And then you have some that's like they have zero motivational speaking.
Which is weird because I feel like it's part of the job. At least that's what it's represent. Like at least that's what it seems like it's shown.
And what's hard is you have how many people in the locker room that some of them get really pumped up by motivational speaking and some of them are like, this is so stupid. Stop doing this.
What are you?
The second.
You think it's stupid?
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, so I have two. I have one. You've already heard the Nick Saban one, but I do just like the whole concept of this actually a lot. It's not even motivational to me. It's just like, oh yeah, this is a good good reminder.
Well, and that's probably where good motivational speakers are too, where it's like, it's not that something tangible that's taken, but I don't know, kind of like what you said. You're actually getting something from this rather than just like it pumping you up, I guess.
Oh, sure. Yeah, there's a lesson.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is the first one. So don't talk while we do it.
Okay.
Because then you'll have to, I don't even know how you did it at that. Do you want to see it or just hear it?
Yeah, I want to see it.
I love this one.
Okay, y'all ready?
So I want to talk about it afterwards. That's why I want to bring it up.
Okay, y'all ready for a lecture? Talk about the importance of nothing. You get up every day, you're entitled to nothing. Nobody owes you nothing. You could have talent, but if you don't have discipline and you don't execute, you don't focus, what do you get? Nothing. If you're complacent and not paying attention to detail, what does that get you? Nothing. So nothing is acceptable but your best. So we need to be, everything is determined by what you do and you trying to be your best so that you can build on positive performance. So that, and that's the only thing There should be nothing else, right, but that, for everybody. So that's what we have to stay focused on. That's what we need to do. And, we got rained out today, so we had to go inside. And we need to not accept anything but our best in terms of what we're doing in preparation.
Okay.
It's a shame he doesn't coach anymore.
I know. Okay, first chat about that. Okay, that's before we get into this.
That's what that chick on that plane needs to hear. You're entitled to nothing.
How awesome would it be if that old Asian lady just said that back to her? Oh, hold on a second. I actually need to pull up a picture.
Yeah,
actually, hold on. Before I sit down and before you have me pushed to the back, let me just pull something up.
Hey,
takes her 15 minutes because it's also an older lady.
What's your airdrop? Open up your airdrop. Let me airdrop you something. I got something that's perfect for you.
You know what? Yeah, I will go to the back, but just pop up on your airdrop for a second. Yeah. I just want you to leave.
I'll go to the back if you let me airdrop you something.
Yeah. You weren't entitled to nothing. How good of a slam would that be?
That would be awesome.
She just has that video ready to go.
Yeah. It's in her favorites, like saved in her favorites on her phone.
But this is why I think again, going back to like the being kind, but the value in the people that you surround yourself with and the people that you surround your kids with, that like taking control of your house again, like that's what makes great coaches, great educators, great parents, great guiders of the youth, I guess, is most of the time their intention is always through these larger lessons.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if that is just getting lost in society a lot more now, or we're not focusing on that, but I've been doing a lot of thinking and trying to break down for more of my teacher training just on like bad behavior in kids. And I think a part of that is, as educators, we have to stay, and parents too, like I think we have to stay zoned in on what is the grander reasoning behind this. Like, we're not just teaching for the obvious and the fluff stuff, and we're not just parenting so that our kids are, get good grades and they do well in sports and they achieve really great things, but like, what's your reasoning behind every move?
Yeah. Well, and I think there isn't a standard anymore, or not a good one at least, that it's like, he's talking about talent, and if you don't have discipline and you can't execute, like you have nothing, to where there's too many people that because they have some talent, they are given a very long rope to continue to mess up or continue to be rude or not disciplined or whatever. It's like, well, but they're really good and we can't afford to lose them. It's like, no, you got to cut that stuff out immediately. That's what I try to do in my classes, is just, there's a standard that needs to be met, and this is how we're going to act, this is how we're going to work, this is how we're going to do things, how we're going to communicate to each other, and you have to meet that standard. And that's where I was like, with sports, I think it's my own bias, and I know it's a very large, clear bias, but like I think they're so important because I had such good coaches growing up that I had a few coaches like that, where it was like, I care more about the person that you will become more than the result of this game or what we do this season or how you end up being how good of a football player you are. My goal is to make sure that you learn the lessons of life through this, and we're going to teach you it through this. And they held us to a high standard of, this is how you're going to be and how you're going to act and how you should. And if you're not going to partake in that, like, you're not going to be a part of this team then. And there's not enough of that, like, cutthroat holding you to a standard. It's just this free-for-all of, you have some kids that are there to work. You have a bunch of kids that are there that don't really care and they kind of act up. And then you have a bunch of kids that don't want to be there. They act up a lot. They aren't paying attention. Like, just the kids that aren't doing well. And you have to hold all of them to a certain standard. And it's like, you're either a part of this or you're not. I've had so many kids leave that class that I've been teaching, but now I have this group of kids that it's like, they know the expectations, they know the standard, and they all meet that pretty much every single class. And it's like, this is what it should be.
And those are the kids that will flourish.
Yeah, because they're learning the lessons that are important for life. It's not about you becoming a better dancer or more athletic or any of that stuff. That is a cool side effect that can happen in these classes. But what it's really teaching you is all these life lessons that is going to take you further and further throughout life. Yeah,
the dancing and the building of their athleticism, that's just the delivery mechanism.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just like this is how we can it's like, this is the fry to the sauce.
Jesus Christ. You know? Okay.
That's another thing that I've been looking up, like trying to understand the origin of the word discipline.
Yeah.
Because thinking about it again from the bad behavior teacher guides that I'm doing right now with the kids, I feel like discipline in nowadays society either means like you're like really focused on success and achieving great things and like you have great self-discipline, so that means and that looks like a certain person, and then it's also guided, or it's also viewed as like a negative with children. Like disciplining is bad, and that means like you're telling them that they suck and that you're trying to fix them and to change them into something else. To where understanding the origin of the word was very cool to me, and I'll tell you what it is. And then another thing that came about with it was discipline is, I wrote it down, discipline is not something you do to someone. It is something you find within them, promote, celebrate, and create structure around. Or that's what I wrote, but I feel like that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So especially with the kids or with yourself even. And again, going back to the great coaches and having a hold of your house, everyone has that in them probably, whether it's probably degrees of that, but through great coaches, through great educators, through great parents, that's where you can keep that building within the kids and promoting the stability and the structure and the consistency within the classroom or at home, that the self-discipline just evolves on its own. To where I think you see we're doing these weird, almost trying to push it to come out by like, well, now when you're older, now I need to go to the gym 6 days a week. And I need to be on this super strict diet. And I need to do this. I need to achieve this in my work. And I need to have this type of relationship. And these are the type of kids that I need to have. That you're like creating this weird formula of like, well, I want the end results. But you're not creating just the overall behavior and like enriching it into their daily personality.
Yeah, like about the journey, not the destination. It's like about the skills that you learn by doing the thing rather than the end result of what you're getting.
Yeah.
It's like you're getting more value out of being disciplined and doing the things that you should be doing every day than you get more value out of that than you do whatever end result you're trying to get. And this is like talked about so much of the time. Jalen Hurts just said it after winning the Super Bowl. He's like, winning the Super Bowl is cool, but losing it still sits in me way more than winning does, because he lost one before that. And it's like, and that's what's going to drive me to try to win another one, is the fact that I lost one before. And it's like, he's attaching to the end results of stuff, but when his career's over, every single athlete, every single person who makes a shit ton of money, like those end results don't solve whatever problems it is you're trying to solve. Mm-hmm. It's always the journey to that, or the discipline within that, and the things that you learn along that way. Week 10, when it was a really hard game, you played in the rain, your team was able to tough it through, and that moment changed the rest of your season and whatever, and gave you this tool for the rest of your career that helped you in those situations again. It's like, that's when those things are happening, and that's where the true value is. It's not this one Super Bowl win or Super Bowl loss, or I made $10 million, but my relationships still suck. Nobody likes me. You know, it didn't solve all these problems that I have. Mm-hmm. It's the discipline that you had every day to get to that point, or to solve whatever problems it is. That's what's going to solve those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's a hard concept for a youthful mind. because it's just not as black and white.
Everything is end result.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about, I don't know. It's not about the tools that they're learning, because they've been able to naturally just learn those throughout their whole life. They haven't had to work for the tools a lot of the time. And it starts to happen, I think, when they get a little bit older. It's like, you can't just show up now and learn the stuff. It's like, you could just show up to kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and things, you just absorb it. You're like a sponge. But then it comes a point where you have to actually actively work and learn.
Well, and
apply.
That's the difference of a child to an adult, and where the word discipline switches. Okay, so like one of the first origins of discipline was disciple, which means to follow. The second one, and how do I say it? I looked it up. Discere, D-I-S-C-E-R-E. That's how you said discere, which means to learn. Then the Latin phrase, they extended it, discere faciendo, which means to learn by doing. So to follow, to learn, and to learn by doing. If that is the origin of discipline, that doesn't really have anything to do with achieving. That doesn't necessarily have anything to do with just the simplicity of how we believe discipline is now, of you're consistent with something and you're rudimentary with it and you hold yourself to a specific standard, or like it's so much more on the process than it is the end result. To where when you're in your youth, and where, again, good parenting, good educators surrounding your children, good coaches, like you said, kids are naturally just absorbing that, because hopefully the people higher up from them are setting them up to learn, to to be someone to follow, that is going to provide them the tools that will set discipline in their regular function. To where when you're adult, you have to do all that yourself. You have to be the one you're following and do the following. You have to be the one you're learning from. You have to search for new education and new ways to learn and new expansion of your knowledge all on your own. But hopefully you were set up in your youth to search those things out.
Yeah. And continue to have that. Well, and I think with the kid thing too, like you brought up, of, you know, parents disciplining their kids, it's like being able to reframe that word of to follow, to learn by doing. It just changes your perspective of when you say, like, yeah, I'm disciplining them. It's not this, like, I'm just yelling at them and telling them they're wrong or that they screwed up or whatever. It's like, okay, how do I get them to follow, to learn, or to learn by doing? And now you have completely reframed this word and can change the direction that you're raising your kid or teaching your class or whatever it is.
And that's where I go back to, what is the grander picture of what you're trying to do with them? I think it should, my guess, it would for me, it would even change my approach with how I'm doing that. Like, another thing that I brought up in one of my posts was, are you trying to get them to do something because you're trying to promote and celebrate the discipline, or are you just trying to get them to comply? Are you trying to get them to do what you're saying because you're the teacher in the room and they need you to follow you, or you're the parent and they need to listen to you? What is the grander purpose of why you're trying to get them to do that thing?
Yeah, and you should be able to have a decently well thought out reason for them to do what you want them to do. And you should be able to explain that to them. Yeah. Because then they're more likely to follow. Yeah. If you have a good reason. That's
what I say to the assistants that help me a lot. Is like, nothing we do in here is random. Yeah. It's not like, oh, that just seems like it'd be fun. Like, right. We can do a lot of things that are fun, that are multi-layered, that are going to help them learn by doing, and then show them that you are someone to follow and to give like they will get guidance from you.
Right.
Okay, I love that. The next one I just thought was more of a funny one, but I still want your thought on it.
Snoop Dogg, you a bad.
And this one can still work with the music on it because it's on YouTube. It will not flag because it's YouTube audio, by the way, just in case you were thinking of that.
I wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of me that thinks that we need less of that in this world, of things being all about me and myself. I think it's cool to give yourself that gratification and think that, but I don't know. I think we have a little bit too much of it, because there's too many people that are going to take that and spin it into their own way, and it's not going to be what he's feeling or saying about it.
Right.
Of like, you know, thanking himself for being a giver and doing good and all that kind of stuff. There's just going to be people that don't do anything and don't do anything positive and don't give to other people, or don't, like, there's too many people that are going to take that are already selfish and already too self-obsessed with themselves, and like that. Unfortunately, the people that are going to take that and go like, yeah, I need to do more of that, is exactly the people that need to do less of it.
Yes.
So I think it's you should be able to do that, but maybe in your own head and not spreading it, because there's too many people that shouldn't be doing it and do too much of it and need to think more about other people. And that message will not come across from what he's saying.
Right.
Of like, spread the wealth, give to other people, do other stuff. Like, that's, the people are not going to take it that way.
Well, and my thought of when I watched that was, you got to do something to be worthy of saying that.
Yeah, and that's, again, that standard is so low now.
Yeah,
like I cooked dinner, so I need to thank me and think. It's like, no, that's not good enough. Like, I'm sorry, if you think because you cook dinner, you're winning the day, no, not good enough. That's what I mean by the standard is so freaking low now.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, to where I think, and this is also, of course, in a speech where I didn't see it, but my guess, because he's saying, and last, I want to thank me. Like, I'm sure this is after him thanking other people.
Yeah.
And thanking his team and realizing it doesn't just take one sole person to achieve almost anything. It takes a village. But I would, like you said, this isn't going to be the takeaway. I would hope that the takeaway would be, I want to do something that I can thank myself, that I'm the one that's showing up and doing the work. I'm the one that's committing every day. I'm the one that's setting discipline for myself. I'm the one that's continuing my education. I'm the one that's showing up for that workout and doing it, setting a goal and then achieving it. Or I'm setting myself to a standard and matching it, and not giving your power over away to everyone else and going, hey, guy's going to fix my problems.
Yeah.
This person's going to fix my problems. My partner's going to fix my problems. Or I'm not going to be that good of a parent because the coaches that my kids have, that's going to be good enough. Or I'll just send them to school and that'll be enough. Or my partner's going to do more of the work in this relationship than I will. Showing up in a way in your life where then you can go back and go like, yeah, I did do something. And I'm happy that I did that. And I'm happy that I showed up. And I'm thanking myself that, yeah, you did put a value to what you were doing and continue to do that. But again, that standard needs to mean something.
Yeah. And I think that those types of moments should be few and far between.
Sure.
Like, I don't think they should be coming up that often. I think that's a sign of a unhealthy ego. Yeah.
I think
not saying that he is like that. That's one clippet of his whole life, but I'm just saying for everybody else, what we see on social media all the time, and people that are, their whole life is about celebrating themselves, apparently, because they don't get it enough. It's like, standards so low, you're celebrating very easy, monotonous things that everybody does every day. It's like you said, he probably did something to actually deserve that and to give himself some gratification. But this idea that you don't need to earn your own self-respect is ridiculous. Like, you should just have it all the time. Well, over what? What have you done that you deserve your own self-respect? Mm-hmm. It's like, that's how we get so soft, and how we get to this point where now everybody is just very mediocre, and there's only a few people achieving really great things. And I don't know. It's just like, the standard's so low. It's annoying.
Well, and again, not to bring up more of my posts, but that's something that I talked about in one of my last ones, was about, like, what are you spreading as a teacher, but then bringing it back to yourself? Like, are you, like, this fake positivity? Like, are you actually promoting good behaviors, or are you just promoting accomplishments? So again, like, are you talking about the process? Are you talking about the journey? Or are you just talking about, oh, you got an award, like, you did good on your solo and you got first overall, and that's awesome. It's like, yeah, but is that the kid that shows up every week to practice? Is that the kid that shows up 100%? Is that the kid that listens to the teacher? Is that the kid that shows, like, signs that they are evolving as a person and growing up? Or are they just talented?
Yeah.
I will celebrate every day the behaviors over the accomplishments.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah. And not to go like against what you're saying, like, we're celebrating too little of things, but when it's the accumulation of all of those good behaviors, that's where you get to the point where he's at.
Well, and there's also a difference between you educating and teaching children versus 40-year-olds. You know, it's like the kids still need to learn or know that, hey, my positive behavior towards this is more important than me getting first overall. It's like, it's more important than the person who just has all the talent and can whip all the stuff out and get the first overall type of thing. It's like,
at some point, no one's going to care about that.
Well, yeah, and also the person with the behaviors, like, you should be rewarded more. You are of more value to the society than the person that, you know, can only do this one thing and potentially is going to run out of that skill anyways, and not be able to utilize it. You know, how many people end up being professional dancers or professional athletes or whatever the thing is that their singular talent is at? They're not likely to be doing that the rest of their life. That now you have learned no other skills, and you've only had this one that you didn't even really work on. You just naturally had it to some degree. It's like, now what? And part of it is probably because they were never celebrated for other things. They were only celebrated for their talent. Yeah. And now when they're not celebrated for their talent anymore, they're not celebrated at all. Mm-hmm. And they don't know what discipline, hard work is, or behavior, positive behavior. They don't know. And now it's a person that's lost in the world and, you know, reposting videos like that. Yeah. That they did the dishes today and they're so grateful that they are amazing. It's like, wow.
Well, and that's something too, that, like, to get to that high of level as well, talent won't be enough. Right. You have to have the talent, and you have to have the work ethic, and you have to have you have to be a kind person. Like, just talking to someone that we work with, he was saying, like, it's most of the time, like, if you're the most talented person on a job, but you're rude once, like you're gone.
Yeah.
And he's like, he's like, I rarely see talent be valued more than like, do you show up on time? Are you easy to work with? Do you complain a lot? Are you someone that can be reliable and trusted? Like, those are the things that have to match your talent once you're past the age of 18. Like, if you want to work in a business like that, or sports too, like, if your life is messy, but you can run really fast, like, you still got to have the whole package once you get to be an adult.
Yeah, I mean, the job rarely requires the most talented person to do it. Usually it requires people who are consistent, reliable, easy to work with. It's like those are the attributes that end up getting you the jobs and doing the stuff. Mm-hmm. You have to have some of the talent or some of the capability. So you still have to probably be in that upper echelon, but not the most talented person that can't show up on time, isn't consistent. You know, they're only talented when they want to be talented. If they don't like a part in the dance, or they don't like a play that you're running in this game, they just like, who cares? I'm not going to do anything about it. It's like that's not the person for the job, and they're going to be booted pretty quickly.
Yeah.
I think that like what you described of the discipline thing, of like the origin of it, would be a cool intro to the audition classes. Like explaining the three things that where the words came from, and then being able to draw comparisons to, like, you know, how we typically use it today. So it's like, you see how it's not used in the way that its origin is.
Yeah.
And it's like trying to reframe it to them of, this is how it should be used, and this is how you should think about it, rather than the way that we think about it now of like, you're in trouble, so you're getting disciplined, or, you know, you need to have discipline to have this certain outcome or whatever. And it's like, it's not about the outcome. It's about it's literally about the discipline, about doing it every day, and about having the consistency and stuff. I think that would be cool to bring up to kids, and
because that's all it's about. It's not about what the end result of that is.
Yeah. And like showing them, like, notice how every one of these definitions has nothing to do with the outcome.
Yeah.
It has no mention of the achievement, the outcome, or anything.
Yeah.
It's just about the process.
Yeah.
I should do it.
Progress over perfection.
I think they should have me do it. They don't want to hear you. They want to hear a cool hip guy like me.
Which is funny that I'm the one that's like
isn't
supposed
that the guy
to...
that just pushes the tap words? I see.
The DJ booth?
Yeah.
Which is funny because, like, I, as a kid, or being in their shoes, I could have cared less about getting a scholarship. Like, the achievement part of it is like, you guys are missing the point. Like,
because you were taught that, though.
Yeah.
These kids aren't, like, most kids are not taught that.
Yeah. It's like you're the value of you and your talent is based on whether you get a scholarship or not. And yeah, I was taught, like, no, you win within the audition. Like, the result is right there. Are the people watching you and only watching you? Are they asking to watch you again because they can't get enough of you? Are they asking do they want to know who you are? That's what you're trying to do. And like, you're trying to show them, who are you as a person within that hour and a half? Like, how do you train? How do you listen? How are you taking class? Are you the first one to run out? Are you staying engaged the whole time? Are you showing more mature qualities than the other kids around you? Are you, when you're dancing, making it be like, you are going to watch me, and I'm going to make you watch me based off of how I'm performing at you or for you? Like, if they give you, like, who cares? Like, the audition is done. That's just like an aftermath of whatever. It's like, you need to get your achievement within that audition. Like, it needs to be, I don't know. And I think that brings the power back to the kid too. But yeah, we were always taught, like, the scholarship is just not what you need to be going for. Like, that's gone next year. You use scholarship and it's done. But like, them knowing your name and wanting to know who you are, that lasts way longer. That leads to jobs.
Yeah, well, I think it's the bigger picture thing. You know, it's the same with like the Super Bowl thing and Jalen Hurts and all that. It's like, it's about more than just the achievement or the accolade. It's about all the stuff that you're learning throughout that and the stuff that you're able to take with you after that. And, you know, like that. It's not about the scholarship. It's about being able to show that you have these behaviors and these abilities to be consistent and work hard and do all the right things that is going to help you throughout the rest of your life. It's not about, it's cool to end up having these achievements throughout that, but that should just be like a symptom of your hard work. It should be the fry to the sauce or whatever you said. You know, it's like, no, the thing is the discipline and working hard and being consistent and doing that. These side effects of I get a scholarship or I win a Super Bowl or, you know, I get a promotion at my job, like that is just the side effect of me doing the thing.
Right.
I'm not going for an achievement. I'm not going for this outcome. I'm just doing the right things every single day, every single moment I can, because I know that stacked upon each other for years and years and years is going to give me all the things that I need.
Yeah.
It's one thing that Peter Attia said actually about like health span and lifespan. He said, if you just only focused on health span, like eating the right foods, exercise, getting good sleep, avoiding, you know, cigarettes and alcohol and all the things that are going to take away from you. If you focus just on health span, just those things, it's going to take care of 90% of what you need to be doing, and your lifespan probably won't be affected then, meaning how long you live. So instead of worrying about, I want to live to 100.
So what are you doing day to day?
What are you doing day to day? What do I need to do right now and every single day and stack that upon each other? The lifespan thing will take care of itself. It's like, that's the same thing with, just because you worried about getting a scholarship more than the other kid doesn't mean you're going to get it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's about what you're doing day to day or in these classes or in these things. Just because you worried about wanting to win a Super Bowl or getting the job promotion doesn't mean that you are taking it more seriously or it's more important. It's honestly probably a waste of your time. You need to be focusing on right now and what do I need to do today to get to the next things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think
I'll come in and
even
tell them these things.
Even not even having the outcome be specific either.
Yeah.
Like, I think that could be beneficial.
If you can just have this attitude of like, it would be cool to have, but it doesn't determine whether you're going to do cool things in your life or the things that you want to in your life necessarily. You know how many people that make it to the NFL or NBA or professional sports that didn't get a scholarship in college?
Mm-hmm.
It's like plenty of them. You don't need to. Plenty of them didn't even play for D1 colleges.
Oh, sure.
You know, so it's like there's many different paths to get here. So where if you're banking everything on, if I don't get accepted into University of Florida, I have no way of getting to, or like it's going to be way more difficult to get to. It's like that's a limiting mindset. You got to be Russell Wilson.
What did he say?
Unlimited.
Do I think just setting the behaviors and focusing on the discipline, then letting the outcome be like, surprise me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I think even setting it to something specific, I get if like, I want to be a professional athlete. Okay, that's kind of like, maybe you need to take certain steps to do that. And if you want a specific job, you got to take actual steps to do it. You can't just be like, well, maybe someone will just see me. But
yeah. Well, and I think that
the stuff along the way, I think.
Dance is different than professional sports too. Like, I think you can have that mindset more with the dance industry or world, not being so specific of like, I want to work for these people, or I want to do only these jobs, or, you know, I want to be a Laker girl, or I want to work on a cruise ship, or I want to do this. I want to background dance for Chris Brown. It's like, it's such a wide field that I think that...
Oh yeah, it's like, that could all be the same person that you just described.
Yeah, exactly. I think that idea of don't be specific works better for that.
Sure.
But there's only one NFL.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be specific, but I think
maybe how you get there.
Yeah, how you get there along that journey, not being super specific of like, I have to play for this college, or I have to, I have to play this position, or I have to do these things. It's like, no, you just have to do the work and be consistent and continue to try to build upon that and, continue to create things happening for you, basically.
Yeah.
But there is one goal of making it to the NFL.
Sure.
But you thinking about getting to the NFL is not going to help you get to the NFL.
Right. You have to put yourself in those positions too.
You have to go, yeah, I want to get to the NFL, but I have to do this stuff. I'm in high school. It's like, I need to do the high school thing.
Oh, right.
I need to be as best as I can in high school and do everything I can to make sure that I have the best high school career that I can put together, kind of thing.
Well, because,
and then same in college. And then
to that example, like, you can't just go off of your stats or your accolades. Like, you getting in and like, you making a D1 football team after coming out of Milton, like, it's not like you were really set up to be sought out. Like,
I didn't do everything I could.
Yeah, like, barely tried, pretty much.
Yeah,
your coaches, it's not like they were well-known people. Like, they were good coaches, but it's not like their name helped you in any way. It's not like you were going to all the football camps and getting your name out there. It's not like you were sending in your footage to the colleges. Like,
no.
And yet you still did it. But it's based off of all the things and all the little day-to-day stuff that you put into play.
I did not the minimum, but I did the things that were going to make me a better football player. I didn't do the promotion stuff, which was not like I should have.
Sure. Okay. So you weren't good at the business part of it.
Yeah, I was terrible at the business part of it. But again, I think I was too focused on go to a D1 college, go to get to the NFL. How do you do that? You go to a D1 college, you get exposed to the best of the best, and you do that, to where I wasn't as focused on the moment as I should have been of how can you be the best right now.
Yeah.
And then the next day, how do you be the best right now?
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do the business bullshitty side of, I wanted my talent just to show, which is just not the world.
Yeah.
You have to do more of the things, unless you're just ultra, ultra talented, which I was not. So.
Yeah, and even that, it's like, that'll still come to bite you. Because, as soon as then you're not insanely the most talented top person, as soon as you slip off that a little bit, now all the other parts of you that isn't top tier are going to show through.
Yeah, for sure.
And you'll get torn down.
Your weaknesses, yeah.
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 And pivot turn. Next subject.
You know what I saw? I meant to shout it out too, because I think I just found it this morning, this website that I think is cool. It's like it was like Science Daily, maybe it was called. But I saw an article on there that said there was a study that was done in the UK of 90,000 men and women, I believe. And it showed that moderate to vigorous exercise, 30 minutes a week, reduced dementia by 41%.
How do they have the stats of that?
They did it was over 4 years. So I think what they did, out of those 90,000 people, they had some that were control group of doing no exercise. And that's what they compared it to. They did there were some that did zero exercise, some that did 30 minutes to 60 minutes, I think it was. Some that did 60 to 90.
But I'm saying, how can they tell? Are there symptoms? Well, I guess there kind of is. They can test you earlier to see if you're showing signs. Yeah. Because Dan Soder, he's 40 something, and they said they were testing him for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
they have whatever signs, sealed, delivered dementia that they're following and seeing. So they were able to show that at minimum 30 minutes of, and it was really the 30 minutes compared to 0 was the biggest effect, but 30 minutes of moderate to vigorous exercise a week, not a day, a week, was like a 41% decrease in dementia.
Wow.
Which is...
It is Science Daily. Look it up. That is the website.
That article is probably right at the top then, too. I don't know if you wanted to pull it up, but I thought that was just kind of crazy, you know? And they were even able to see that, like, people who were... They kept saying frail, too, which I thought was hilarious. Like, a scientific literature using the word frail, to me, is just weird. But that they were saying, like, frail people were also seeing positive effects of it. Not... They were seeing negative effects of too much because of how frail and deconditioned they were, but...
Which that you'd be able to work on over time.
Yeah, which it's like...
Well, I guess if you're a certain age, that might be tricky.
But even for us, if we were working out too much, we're going to see negative side effects of that too. It's like, it's not really a frail thing as much as just a human thing. But yeah, I don't know.
That's
I
wild.
like that stuff. Just think it's just more reason to do these things.
Yeah, that's cool. I love those things because I think for coming from families where old age wasn't necessarily the factor of death for both of us, it gives me more hope, I guess, and less stress when it comes to later in life, where it makes me feel like I have somewhat of an effect.
Oh yeah, you have
what I can do.
Some sort of control over it, yeah.
To where, especially on my side of the family, where a lot of it is brain related, like that just makes me feel like, oh, well, I'm screwed. Like it's just gonna, at some point, it's just gonna go downhill. It's
Sure.
like, no, there's more things to justify and studies to show the way you live when you're younger can affect the health of your brain later, which is like obviously, but it hasn't been obvious in research and science, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I think the more podcasts there are, news things that come out, you know, just the more research and data and I don't know, the stuff that comes out and people are able to see, I think that's cool. Like people weren't interested or didn't care and weren't going to listen or pay attention to these types of things during your grandpa and grandma's era, you know, that generation. It's like they're not looking up articles to see what can they do to help their brain function as they get older.
No, there wasn't articles.
Huh?
They had to go to the library or read the newspaper.
Yeah, and even then, like how many studies were even done to show those things too?
Sure.
You know, like how much were they able to even find that information, if that information was even known and out there? That's becoming more and more known. We're just getting more and more information that we're realizing how much effect and control we do have over that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think is cool. I mean, we talked about one of the last episodes about having strength in your older age being so crucial to function. But it is like the younger that you can start, the better.
Yeah.
Just so that you can set yourself up right and hopefully lead yourself. Like, because, you know, talking about the AI stuff and living forever, it's also the quality of that life. Like my grandma, everyone claimed that she was going to die 6 years ago and she's still going. But like the last 6 years hasn't been good quality of life. So it's like, yeah, that's 6 years. And that happened to my other great grandparents too, where it's like, yeah, they're here, they're living, but are they enjoying themselves? Or is like, is every day they're just like, again?
Yeah.
Got to do this again. Like that, maybe everyone gets to that point eventually. And maybe you're just trying to push that later and later so that at least you have more years of good quality as well. I think that needs to be part of the caveat, is living longer, but having good quality of life for as long as you can. And that starts, like what we said before, that starts with very simple things of being able to go up and down stairs and being able to reach things from your cabinets, like be able to utilize your full kitchen because you can reach at every shelf and you feel comfortable enough standing on a stool and getting it from there. You're able to still fly because you can get your suitcase from the upper cabinet. Like,
yeah.
It's not just the obvious of, oh, you have a stroke and then you can't really function. It's like, no, the day-to-day life stuff that starts to become limiting and frustrating.
Yeah.
It's like if you've broken a bone or you have an injury of some sort that limits you, you know how frustrating that is.
Yeah. Your back is always hurting.
It's just like your everyday, not just, well, just until I heal, I got to deal with this.
Yeah. Well, I always think about that, like when you jam a finger or stub a toe or something, you're like, I didn't realize how much I use this freaking finger and how I don't have to think about it because it's always normal, to where now it's jammed and it hurts every time I touch it.
Yeah.
It's like, this is annoying. Like I have like a hangnail on my ring finger, and the way I hold my fork, it presses up against that part all the time. I'm like, this sucks. Now I got to hold my fork differently.
And now imagine it's like
my quality of life sucks. Yeah. So I can't hold the fork how I want to hold it.
And now imagine it's just like second stories, no longer.
Yeah.
You're ground level now.
Yeah. Or like,
unless there's an elevator.
I need somebody to help me go to the bathroom every time I want to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
That's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I think, I feel like, what would you say our demographic for this podcast is? More like 25 to 50 or something like that. And it's like for
middle age,
more of those people that aren't doing these things, whether it's you're worried about your health in the future or you're worried about it now, you're even noticing it's affecting you now, or, whatever it is. It's always so funny to me or interesting to me that if you eat correctly, you exercise correctly, you sleep correctly, it basically fixes all of the problems that everybody has. It's like people who are worried about dementia, or it runs in the family or something, and they're worried about there being a genetic component to that. Well, guess what? Resistance training helps that. Oh, and you're also overweight. Well, resistance training helps that. Oh, you're worried about not being able to walk up and down flights of stairs when you're older. Oh, it helps that. Like, you can't play with your kids right now because you're just too weak, or like your family's playing volleyball but you can't because of whatever reason. It's like resistance training helps that. It's like it tends to hit all of these things that everybody has the problems of, that it's like all you got to do is this one thing, and every single one of your problems gets lessened because of this. And it's the same with the food, it's the same with the sleep. It's like it's the shotgun approach to everything. It just helps everything. So it's not like you even have to be super specific, or I don't know. You don't have to be specific about like, well, I have to do these specific exercises and I can only do these because these help dementia the most. And then I have to do these specific exercises to lose weight. And then I have to eat these specific things to do it. It's like, no, you just resistance train. You can do all of the movements that you want to do. Eat whole natural foods. You can eat all the whole natural foods that you want. If you like carrots, have those. If you don't like celery, don't have those. But then have, peas or something, or fruits or whatever. It's like, just eat whole natural foods. That's all you got to do.
Yeah. And then get some decent sleep.
Yeah.
And even that, now there's studies that shown if you have a consistent resistance training in your repertoire, the lack of sleep that most of us are getting, well, not us, the lack of sleep people are getting, that outweighs the lack of sleep.
You can get a little bit of a, yeah, which I wouldn't play too much into. I wouldn't play with that too much.
No, don't go, well, I did a 30-minute workout, so now I can get 5 hours of sleep and work for the rest of the time. No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, people are like, I do fine with less than 8 hours. No, you don't.
Yeah.
And those people that say that, it is so hard for me to not be like, oh, so what do you think is causing this, and this, and this?
Well, right. Exactly.
Like, I just want to rip them to shreds. And not in a, like, I want to make them feel bad, but it's so hard for me to not try to draw the conclusions for people with that stuff. Because since that has been done to me, or you do that with me, or we do that together, it's like, oh yeah, okay, so I have the ability to change this. This isn't just like, well, drew the short end of the stick. Like, no, you're causing this.
Yeah,
this
people want to.
You can change.
This is where I get so annoyed with the genetic thing. People want to chalk everything up to genetics all the time, and it drives me crazy. I don't like when people don't take the responsibility, and I think that's why the genetic excuse drives me crazy so much. Because it's like, oh, you just don't want to take responsibility. Yeah. You don't want to be accountable for your actions. You want to claim that, oh, I actually don't need that much sleep, but also like, here's all my other problems. It's like, well, get more sleep. Well, it's a genetic thing. It's like, what are we talking about here? This is crazy. My genetics don't allow me to lose weight that easily. Oh, really? What's your diet? Chips and soda? Okay, well, that's literally not how any of this works.
Well, and even that, I feel like a lot of times they'll say, like, maybe it's not that dummied down, but like, I'm trying to give it a good example, but it will be like well, I'm what's the word? Predisposed?
Yeah.
Like for the genetic stuff, like, well, this runs in my family. Or like, oh, my dad always did this and I have it too. Or my mom had this and I have it too. It's like, change the word, this is my genetics, to this is my family and generational behavior. It's like, oh, all of the people in your family have diabetes. Well, how do all of your family eat?
Yeah.
How were you raised that your parents have it and now you have it? Probably because your parents were the ones feeding you and they were feeding you bad stuff. So now when you have kids, if you don't change the behavior, yes, you're going to have that thing. The people that have problems with like the losing weight or exercise, like, because you didn't see that growing up, because your parents weren't doing that, so now you aren't doing that. Or I'm trying to think of another one that's,
or you haven't kept it consistent in your life. It's like, you could have seen it, but people also like to rebel and not do what their parents did.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's just, what are you doing about it? Just quit giving the excuse of like my family or my parents or, society. Oh, there's a chip aisle. Like, no, you have control over this.
Yeah.
Take control over it.
Yeah. It is weird. We have definitely talked about this on the podcast before, and then when they take pride in that because it's family related.
Oh.
Like, well, we're all this way.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you're celebrating.
We're all angry and judgmental. It's just how we are.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, wait, what? That's not genetic.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like, no, that's change genetic to that's my generational behavior. That was passed down to me and I didn't change it.
Full circle, how we talk about this stuff is probably how I feel about people talking about AI. I feel like you always just say it's just this.
Chalk it up to this.
Chalk
this
it up
will
to
help
this.
everything.
This will do all the things.
You.
It's like AI is going to solve all your problems. Oh, resistance training and eating good is going to solve all your problems. That's all your advice ever is.
Well, at least that's been proven. When AI does that and they prove it, tell me all day long.
Yeah.
Tell me all day long. But you're talking about a thing that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, this is stuff that's real and right now. AI is, if you want to talk about how awesome ChatGPT is, I'm on board.
Sure, I'll talk about that.
Because I've experienced it and I like it and it does work. You're telling me that all human behavior is going to be changed by AI? Hey, I got to wait to see it first.
Okay, sometimes it doesn't work though.
How I use it, it's awesome.
So this is weird.
You're like, actually, I read one of your emails and it was trash.
No.
Have you been reading your emails lately? They're not good. Then they're covered in grammatical errors.
I try to use ChatGPT for fantasy football because lately I'm so uninterested in it that I want somebody else to do the work for me.
Sure.
So I put in ChatGPT for the 2025 rookie draft class for fantasy football, like give me a rankings of top players, basically.
And it couldn't do that?
It couldn't do it. It kept bringing up the year before and people from the year before. So I said, like, it kept bringing up somebody like Caleb Williams, who's already in the NFL. I'm like, you said Caleb Williams, but he is already in the NFL. Just give me the rookies that will be coming into the NFL this year or for 2025. And then I even did 2026 and it was still wrong. So I did like different years. I tried to tell it like, you're saying this person, that's not correct. And it'd be like, oh yes, you're right. Sorry, my apology. And then I give a list and it's like, you still have 4 people in here that are in the NFL. It could not do it.
Was it how you were asking it? Like, should you have said it differently? Like,
I asked it in multiple different ways.
Not even just changing the year. You changed like, taking out the word NFL.
Well, I did like fantasy football, and then I was like, okay, maybe if I just do NFL draft, and it couldn't do even just NFL draft.
So are you trying to, you were trying to figure out who were the college kids that are going to be drafted this year?
Yes. And it couldn't do it.
So,
it kept bringing up people that have already been drafted. Like it was a mix of people that were going to be drafted because there's some names that I recognize, but it initially brought up the team that was, or the kids that were already drafted this last year. So then I was like, well, maybe it doesn't understand what year I'm talking about. So then I did a year later and that was still incorrect. And then I tried to just say like, okay, these people have already been drafted in the NFL. So like, this isn't the right list.
Sure.
And then I was like, oh yeah, you're right. And then it would take that person out that I said, but then it'd have the other people still in it. It was, it could not figure it out. It could
That's
not
weird.
get it.
But if you just Googled that, would there be a list?
If somebody has like made an article, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's all of the kids, all the college kids that have declared for the draft. That's what you're figuring out?
Yeah. Who haven't been drafted yet, but will be drafted in April this year.
But you don't know if they'll be drafted. They'll just be a part of the draft pullings. Because they might not get picked.
I mean, we can kind of know they're going to be drafted because they're the top players. So they will be drafted, but we don't know where they're going to be drafted.
Okay.
But yeah, it could not figure it out.
And
it couldn't do it.
But is that based off of like their stats why you think they will for sure be drafted?
I mean, stats plays a role. It's just like, these are the best guys.
And is it, how many of those guys are like for sure they will get picked?
Well, I don't know. I mean, once you get to, I don't know exactly. My guess or opinion would probably be like, they probably know 4 or 5 rounds of who will be drafted.
Okay. Because they like, is the reason that they couldn't come up with it because it's like, it's so opinion based?
No,
like,
it's not. It is
like stats. But is it one of those things like, they're good, so they're going to get picked, but there's no like for sure answer of they are the best, so they will. Like it's already, like, is it just based on, well, because they're good? They're
not going to be able to predict who is drafted at what position, but they should know who the top 10 players are.
Okay.
Coming into the draft, for sure. 100%. There's people that make lists of the top 100.
But it's based off of just understanding the data.
Well, it's based off of understanding, like, yeah, how good this player is, how they did in college, and also
but like something crazy needs. Could happen and they wouldn't get picked because each team just didn't choose them.
That's probably pretty rare.
Okay.
Once you get to like those people that are making like lists of 100 people, their last 20 maybe a little bit funky, but like no, they know who's going to be drafted. It's not like all of a sudden some random guy nobody's ever heard of gets picked in the first round. Like they know everybody.
Okay.
That's going to be drafted.
Okay.
And ChatGPT does not.
Okay.
So
it's great for emails.
Yeah, but I don't want to.
It helps my life a lot.
It doesn't mind. Like, tell me who to draft for fantasy football.
Sure.
If you can't even do that, don't talk to me about how good AI is.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm here. It's like, can you Google it and will it come up? Because if it's not Googleable.
That's what I don't understand. Is like all this information is out there of who's going to be going into the NFL draft. How can you not figure out who's already been drafted and who is about to be drafted. Like, this seems like a very simple procedure.
Yeah.
If I can have you interpret the Bible, but you can't figure out regular football stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe it's because football won't be a thing. Because all of our consciousness will be uploaded into AI.
They just hold that information that they know is the future. Like, you're still going to be doing emails in the future. Emails will be a part of your life until you die.
Well, you'll have a job.
You are not going to have emails. You might not have a body. You're doing emails.
Yeah. Everybody will be an email. Oh, my God. All right. Make sure you subscribe. Maybe.
Are we at that time already?
Huh?
Are we at that time?
Yeah.
I love that we didn't even get into the topic.
Yeah, we never do.
Saving it.
Maybe.
Catch it next time. Catch it next week.
Maybe we'll have a new title.
You can't throw that out there. Not a new title, a new name.
We can cut this out.
Why?
Are you saying you can't say that? Like, maybe we should keep it a surprise?
No, I'm not saying. I'm saying we haven't talked about it a lot to even think if we're doing that, and it could be months until we do it. That's okay. We'll just leave it.
Or it'll be the next episode.
Rebrand.
All right. Subscribe. See you later.